everyone, my name is Marian Guevara. Thank you all who decided to click on this video. Today I wanted to do a bit of a discussion / review on one of my favorite books I have read this year so far, and that is The Lady's Paradise by Emile Zola. For those who are unfamiliar, The Lady's Paradise revolves around the establishment and emergence of the modern department store in mid-19th century Paris. And this book basically follows several different perspectives and how they're all each affected by the growth of this department store, The Lady's Paradise. So today I'm going to be talking about the four major perspectives we're sort of following throughout this book. So for those who don't want any spoilers of any kind, I recommend that you click away from this video and pick up The Lady's Paradise and read it for yourself. It's pretty enthralling stuff, I'm not going to lie. I never thought a book focusing on a department store would be that fascinating or interesting, but this certainly was a page turner. I will be discussing some details. I'll try not to reveal like major plot points, but there will be some details I'll have to talk about. So yeah, without further ado, let's get on with the discussion on The Lady's Paradise. So the first perspective I want to talk about is that of the specialty stores. So in the beginning of the novel, it's pretty much established that the specialty stores are in a bit of a trouble because The Lady's Paradise has been taking away their business and basically making them obsolete. So in the traditional ways of like selling goods to customers, consumers would go to specialty stores to get, one store would have satin, one would have linen, another one would have furniture, and so on and so forth. However, with the emergence of The Lady's Paradise, things have taken a shift. Okay, you have a large store with a diversified, a large variety of product, of goods. And not only that, they're selling them at a cheaper price than all of the other specialty stores. So obviously, the customers are going to gravitate towards that. Which one would you rather have? Would you go to special stores and travel from one to another and purchase goods at a bit higher price, or would you rather go to one spot that has everything at a cheaper price? So obviously the old family businesses are taking a hit, and you are privy to a lot of their emotions, the jealousy, the fear of going bankrupt, and also the bitterness that all their customers have basically left them. And what I found interesting is the way Zola portrays all of this. I think he does portray them quite sympathetically. You do feel bad for these old family businesses who have to see their livelihoods, shrivel up and die. However, he does not mince words. I think he portrays in a very frank manner that this is the way it's going to be, that this is the future, that The Lady's Paradise is going to be the future of how you sell goods to customers, and that this old, traditional way of specialty shops it's going to die out. This isn't a story about the little guy banding together and taking down the big corpo. No, this is just, we're slowly seeing a turnover from one means to another. And that does unfortunately mean that some people are going to have to suffer. However, I do appreciate that through the character, you can argue that she's the main character, Denise Badu, when she sort of gains influence in The Lady's Paradise and is able to make sort of executive decisions in a way, we see her enact some change. So we see her get some benefits for the employees. You see her establish sort of a nursery section where women who have children can, have their children looked after while they're working. So there is that idea that with change, yes, you're going to have people left behind in the wayside, but change can also lead to something good in a way. So it was very interesting seeing The Lady's Paradise through the eyes of these specialty stores and seeing how they cope, how they try to at least compete with The Lady's Paradise, but unfortunately it's not to be. One highly entertaining aspect or perspective that we follow in the book is that of the employees of The Lady's Paradise, and we kind of get to see the working environment, and it's very much a dog-eat-dog world working for this department store. The employees have a baseline pay, but the real money is in the commission. So obviously you have employees who are competing against one another for customers trying to get high commissions. And then you also get to see a bit of, their attitudes. Like, for instance, you have some people who, throughout the week, they earn their commission and then they blow it off, all they earned on a Sunday, and they just go back on Monday and try to earn back what they spent on that previous Sunday. You really get to see a microcosm for all this ruthless upward mobility in one special department, in one significant department that we tend to follow a bit more compared to others, and that is the silk department, the salesman there. So one thing of note is that in the departments you have the buyer, who's the head, the assistant buyer, and I think like the regular salesman. So we have a salesman in the silk department called Hutan, and then his friend Favier. And Hutan is just a real piece of work, and he wants nothing more to just go up the ladder, basically. And he works with his fellow salesmen to undermine the position of the buyer, and then basically have him get fired. And then the assistant buyer takes his position, and then Hutan rallies, the rest of the salesmen, together to get him knocked down. He sends anonymous messages to the management and all that. He ends up getting fired, and then Hutan ends up taking his position. So he's buyer, he's head, and he continuously is a nasty piece of work. All the promises he made to help out all his other salesmen obviously turned out to be false, and he garners a lot of enemies. And pretty soon his friend Favier does the same exact tactics to get him fired, and he takes his place. So you see this environment where people are just cannibalizing one another just for the sake of ambition. On top of that, you also have this constant fear of getting fired. For instance, there are seasons where business is high, but then there are seasons where business is low. And that's when the management decides to start, to have heads roll. So you have people living in fear that the slightest, mistake or slip up will result in them getting fired and put out on the street. So overall, you get a sense of how just hostile and, how truly dog-eat-dog world this environment in the ladies' paradise is. Especially, particularly if you work there. So the third perspective that I want to tackle is that of the customers, which are basically the lifeblood of the ladies' paradise. They're the ones that give it such a large profit, that allow it to grow to such a beast. Octave Marais, who is sort of like the owner, the manager, the visionary behind the department store, describes the ladies' paradise. He wants to see it as a temple of worship towards women. There are actually many, like a couple of moments where the ladies' paradise is likened to a church. This idea that, this hub of consumerism has become sort of like a replacement of the church, as in terms of like a place of worship, basically. The salespeople are highly encouraged to flatter the female customers so that they can, spend more of their money. There are certain arrangements that are made for the comfort of the female customer so that she could come back. There's a lounge area. There's elevators for her ease. There are departments that are arranged in such a way that are made to entice her to keep buying things, to keep buying goods, to keep that, money flowing. So there are a lot of pains and efforts made for the sake of the female customer, but the female customer is only as good as her money, because the minute the money runs out, she's really not, she's of no purpose to the establishment. In many ways, she's exploited. So there is a group of female customers that we kind of follow throughout, like the middle towards the end of the book. I like to focus on 3 different women because you can see they have 3 different sort of consumer attitudes about them that are all influenced by such, by the ladies' paradise, by this hyper-consumerist environment. So the first one is Madame Marty, who is very much just completely impulsive. She has no impulse control whatsoever. Every trap that Marais lays down to entice women to keep buying, she ends up falling for it, much to the detriment of her husband, who is struggling to pay the bills, for her expenses, her shopping expenses. The next woman is a Madame Baudelaire, who is portrayed to us initially as someone who is very shrewd, who is a bit more intelligent when it comes to her shopping habits. She waits for deals. She waits, to get a big bang for her buck. However, we found out she's also a doting mother, and Marais geniusly opens a children's department, and she's now splurging. It's not for herself, but it's for her children. Basically, Murray is still able to get, into her wallet, I guess in a way still indirectly. And the last woman to talk about is Madame de Bove, who, when we're first introduced, her husband doesn't give an allowance, so she can't buy anything. So she's accompanying her friends to the ladies' paradise, and she is surrounded by people who are just buying, like buying everything, buying whatever takes their fancy. And she's like so jealous of the fact that she can't do anything. And it's come to a point where she ends up shoplifting. And then towards the end of the book, when she does have money to shop with, she still ends up shoplifting because it's already a habit that she's sort of, encouraged. So you see these various different shopping attitudes that are all influenced by such, a hyper-consumerist environment that is the ladies' paradise. Now, these last three perspectives that I've talked about aren't very nice. We're seeing family businesses go bankrupt. We're seeing employees cannibalize one another for the sake of upward mobility. And then we're seeing these consumers who are just being exploited and at times just ruining themselves for the sake of consuming goods. So there is still like a heart to the story that I really enjoyed. And that is with Denise Baudu. Denise Baudu, you can argue, is the main character of this book. She's a young woman who has gone to Paris to find work. She has to support two younger brothers. They're orphans. And she decides to work at the ladies' paradise. And unfortunately for, Denise, who is, she's a country gal, she's a bit plain, skinny. People sort of like single her out as someone to bully. But with enough hard work and determination, she's sort of able to find a place in the ladies' paradise and sort of learn the ropes, basically. And she attracts the eye of Octave Murray, who, as I mentioned, is, the manager, the owner, and the visionary behind everything. And Murray, as good as he is at exploiting his female customers, he also happens to be a seducer in his private life. And he has been, known to have many affairs, especially with sales girls. And he sets his eyes on Denise. However, he finds that Denise is just not willing to abide by him. He offers her money, he offers her a house, he offers her, financial support or to take care of her brothers, basically bribing her with money to get her affection. But Denise constantly says no. And it drives Murray insane, basically. It drives him mad because he's not used to this. He's used to just throwing money and getting whatever he wants, but not with Denise, who just keeps saying no, no, no. And as the book continues, we see the ladies' paradise just get bigger and grander and much larger, something which Murray had always wanted. That was his ambition, his dream. However, no matter how much profit he rakes in, he doesn't really care because Denise keeps saying no. She keeps rejecting him. I'm paraphrasing, but there's a part of the book where he says that he can buy whatever he wants, but he can't even buy a kiss from one of his sales girls. So we see that in such, a toxic and consumerist environment, you see Denise just refuses to be commodified. She refuses to be bought. So hers is sort of like the heart of the story. So those were all the major points that I wanted to discuss about this book. Even if the inner workings of a Parisian department store doesn't take to your fancy, I still would recommend this novel. At least, give it a go. I wasn't really all interested about, a department store in Paris, but I found the story to be nonetheless very much engaging, enthralling. It was certainly a page turner for sure. I got through this one so fast, just because I couldn't put it down. So yeah, I do recommend this Zola. If you're gonna pick up a Zola, this is also one that I would highly recommend. So yeah, thank you for clicking on this video and checking out this review/discussion, and I'll see you all in the next vid. Bye!